Prologue. The weary sea serpent Sisyphus struggles to complete her cocoon on a cold riverbank crucial for her transformation into a dragon. She endures immense physical hardship, ingesting clay mixed with venom to build her case, but exhausts her strength before sealing it. Tintaglia, a blue and silver dragon, arrives to assist, directing human helpers to finish the cocoon. An Elderlings intervention further helps seal her case. Despite Tintaglia's aid, the uncertainty of survival remains as Sisyphus falls into a deep, toxin-induced sleep. Tintaglia warns the humans that only the dragons will consume any failed cocoons, preserving their lore. In Chapter 1, Leftrin, a riverman near 30, awakens on his barge, Tarman, and impulsively goes ashore. He wanders through the rain-wild forest and finds a rare, dead wizardwood log, a fortune, as wizardwood is used for ships that resist the river's acidic waters. As he contemplates smuggling the valuable log to the black market, Chalcidian traders come to mind seeking dragon parts to heal their ailing ruler. However, a new plan arises, using the wizardwood for his own benefit and Tarman's enhancement. The chapter closes with a letter about an upcoming rain-wild dragon hatching event. In Chapter 2, Thymara witnesses newly hatched dragons struggling due to deformities. Her father, Jerup, narrowly escapes harm while aiding a dragon, sparking a heated debate with his friend Rogan over the dragon's burdensome future. Rogan criticizes Jerup's choice to raise Thymara, but Jerup defends his decision fiercely, reflecting their conflicted friendship. The dragons, fed by Tintaglia, aggressively devour food, with stronger dragons dominating the weaker. Amidst the chaos, a blue dragon names herself Cintara, though she faces challenges due to a malformed wing, highlighting her resilience. The scene hints at looming challenges for both dragons and the rain-wild traders. In Chapter 3, Elise meets her suitor, Hest Finnbook, and feels disappointed by her father's choice, which prevents her from studying the rain-wilds. Despite their differences, Hest gifts her a valuable scroll, reigniting her scholarly dreams. He explains the practical nature of his courtship, offering a marriage of convenience. Elise agrees, knowing she'll be free to pursue her research. Meanwhile, Cedric reflects on his role in facilitating Hest's scheme. Hest believes the arrangement benefits them both, while Cedric feels uneasy, thinking Elise deserves better. A letter from Detozi discusses the Rain-Wild's dragons and a request for assistance. In Chapter 4, Elise prepares for her wedding to Hest, reflecting on the lack of romantic affection in their marriage contract. During the ceremony, the couple signs extensive terms. Afterward, Elise waits anxiously for their wedding night, hoping for tenderness. When Hest arrives drunk, the evening is disappointing and devoid of romance. Elise's hopes shatter as she experiences humiliation and emotional pain. Alone, she resolves to accept her new life with resignation, setting aside her idealistic dreams about marriage and adjusting to the harsh reality of her situation. In Chapter 5, Leftrin, captain of the Tarman, grows wary of Synod, a Chalcidian merchant suspected of blackmail and seeking rare Rain-Wilds items. Elise confronts her unfaithful husband Hest after uncovering his affair. He denies it, but Elise vows to end their marriage. Meanwhile, the dragons, including Cintara, discuss their bleak future. Cintara longs for Kelsingra, a once thriving city, and the possibility of returning to a better life. The dragons are united in their desire to find Kelsingra despite doubts about the journey's feasibility. They agree that human help is necessary for survival. In Chapter 6, Thymara's mother offers her a job from the Rain-Wild Traders' Council to work with dragons, but her father opposes it, citing the dragon's danger and the task's futility. The council plans to send dragons upriver to a fabled city, and Thymara is asked to accompany them as a dragon tender. Despite her father's objections, Thymara decides to accept the offer, seeking to find her own path and prove herself. Her father, though reluctant, agrees to accompany her to the council hall. Meanwhile, a message about pigeon shipments from Bingtown is delivered. In Chapter 7, Elise confronts Hest about his broken promise to let her visit the Rain-Wilds. Hest dismisses her request, revealing his disdain for dragons and frustration over their childless marriage. Cedric, witnessing the tension, defends Elise, reminding Hest of his vow. Hest argues Elise hasn't fulfilled her wifely duties and accuses her of exploiting the marriage. Cedric suggests Hest accompany her to the Rain-Wilds, presenting it as a business opportunity. Hest, angered, dismisses the idea but ultimately agrees, mocking Cedric and Elise's plans, and the conversation ends with Cedric reluctantly accepting Hest's decision. In Chapter 8, Thymara signs a contract to join a dangerous expedition with the Rainwild traders. She meets fellow travelers Tats and Rapskull while her father expresses concern but supports her decision. Thymara struggles with the impending separation but finds comfort in her father's words. The group receives limited supplies and begins their journey to find dragons, forming a bond with Sylve. Meanwhile, Elise grapples with disappointment over the dragon's poor condition, realizing their deformity and lack of intelligence. She decides to continue her journey to Kasserich despite her doubts, determined to document the creatures. In Chapter 9, Cedric reflects on his strained relationship with Hest Finnbach, feeling slighted after being assigned to accompany Elise on a journey instead of participating in a trip he had anticipated with Hest. Meanwhile, Thymara and her group of dragon keepers discuss their journey upriver, preparing to meet the dragons. Thymara bonds with her companions, though Greft, who seems more cynical, warns her about the fleeting nature of friendships in such groups. Tensions rise when Greft implies Tats may be involved in criminal activities, causing suspicion among the group. The chapter highlights personal ambitions, relationships, and secrets. In Chapter 10, Elise and Leftrin arrive in Kasserich, where dragons are to be relocated. Elise joins Leftrin for a council meeting, despite discomfort. Centaura, a dragon, dreams of Kelsingra, while Mercor manipulates humans into seeking the dragon's aid. The council discusses moving the dragons up the river, and Leftrin is asked to provide transport. Malta Vestrit protests, emphasizing Selden Vestrit's importance, but the council presses on. Elise observes the tension and desperation. Elise then presents her expertise in dragons, suggesting Kelsingra's possible location and offering to accompany the dragons, which Leftrin supports. In Chapter 11, Elise decides to join an expedition to study dragons despite Cedric's objections. She has signed a contract with the Traders' Council and prepares to leave that afternoon. Elise faces Cedric's anger, realizing his view of her as naive, but she remains determined. On board the Tarman, she arranges for more comfortable quarters, avoiding further conflict with Cedric. Upon reaching the Dragon Beach, Elise is awestruck by the dragons, especially the Golden Dragon. When the Queen Dragon notices her, Elise is startled when the dragon speaks to her, marking a pivotal moment in her journey. In Chapter 12, Cedric is frustrated by Elise's obsession with dragons, especially her belief that Tintaglia spoke to her. Elise insists on communicating with the dragons, while Cedric remains skeptical. Thymara feels left out as Elise bonds with Skymaw. Thymara helps Tats with fishing and encounters a stranger who wants to talk about dragons. Tats shares how he can understand his dragon, and wonders if feeding her well will allow her to fly. Thymara explains that she can communicate with dragons and may help Cedric interpret their conversations for Elise's research. In Chapter 13, Leftrin is unsettled by a warning from Synod Arik about the journey. Thymara feels uneasy with Greft's authoritarian approach and agrees to care for the Silver Dragon. Cedric asks Thymara to help translate for Elise, causing her jealousy. Elise struggles with Skymaw's refusal to communicate and contemplates returning home. Thymara suggests they approach the Silver Dragon while he's eating to tend to his injuries, and Elise reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, a letter arrives detailing a contract with the Rainwild's Council, referencing Elise's role as a dragon scholar and the expedition's financial matters. In Chapter 14, Centaura, a dragon, grows jealous as Thymara and Elise treat an injured silver dragon's tail. The dragons, recalling ancient memories, begin moving toward the river, signaling the start of their journey to Kelsingra. The group prepares to follow them, relying on the dragons to guide them as charts are unreliable. Cedric struggles with his conflicting desire to leave, holding dragon flesh that could secure a future with Hest. He tries to persuade Elise to abandon the quest, but she decides to go anyway, despite his objections. Cedric begrudgingly follows, knowing he cannot leave without her. In Chapter 15, Thymara and Rapskull pursue the dragons, and Thymara reflects on her feelings for Tats, finding comfort in Rapskull. Leftrin prepares to leave the barge, meeting Carson and the Council's hunters. Elise admits her dissatisfaction with her life and marriage to Cedric, desiring independence. Meanwhile, Cedric confronts Hest, contemplating his future ambitions and the impact of Hest's influence. Centaura, among the dragons, struggles with her weak muscles while hunting a river pig. After killing her first prey, she experiences a triumphant shift in her sense of self. Mercor leads the dragons onward, pushing for their independence. In Chapter 16, Thymara struggles to haul her elk kill back to camp, facing tensions with Greft, Boxter, and Case, who took part of her meat without permission. She asserts her right to the elk, intending to share only with Tats and Sylve. As they work together to prepare the meat, Thymara reflects on the uneasy dynamics with Greft, who has manipulative intentions and wonders about the lack of leadership among the group. Despite frustrations, she decides to hold off confronting Greft for now, choosing to focus on the immediate need to feed their dragons. The group bonds over shared meals and music. In Chapter 17, Cedric confronts Leftrin, accusing him of improper behavior with Elise, suggesting she be sent back to Trehaug to protect her reputation. Elise, torn between her infatuation with Leftrin and her marriage to Hest, resolves to honor her vows. Meanwhile, the Keepers manage the failing brown dragon, which Cedric exploits by secretly harvesting blood and scales from it. He hopes to profit from the dragon's remains, despite the risks. Cedric covers his tracks, believing the dragon's death was inevitable and not his fault, while pondering his actions with unsettling detachment.